Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Dallas. I also go by Dremo, and today we're going to be doing another deck profile, and this time we're doing Magical Muskets. Now, it's been a little bit since I was able to actually do this. My computer screen is unfortunately broke, and we were not able to get one until now. But we are back in full force, hopefully, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I really like this deck. It's really cool. It's kind of like Runic, how they have to have their field spell on the field, but then they get like interruptions. You know, they can play their quick spells and stuff. However, this does go a little bit beyond that. Not to say it's any better than Runic, it's actually a lot worse. It's really easy to brick, and it's happened quite a few times. I'll try to find good duels or get good duels before I post this. If not, I'll just post it like as is. We're going to go ahead and get into this. So basically what this whole gimmick is about is if you can get any of these monsters on the field, you can use their archetypal spells and traps anytime during your opponent's turn, during your turn. Traps, you don't have to set them first, you can just use them outright, which is, I find, really freaking cool. It's really fun to disrupt something. You know, you can have one that, like Desperado, which destroys a face-up card in the field, which unfortunately can't destroy like set spells and traps, but that doesn't really happen all that much. We do have an archetypal spell and trap negate anyway, so it is what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the monsters, just like I always do, and we will go from there. First, we have Magical Musketeer Casper. I haven't read the actual name, so I usually just know them by their artwork. I'm like, okay, this is the one with the cape. I know what he does. It does actually get confusing because there's a couple with the cape. But anyway, this one is level 3. Play this at 3 because what this does is during the player's turn. Again, I'm not gonna go over this every single time, but you can activate Magical Musket spells and traps from your hand. If a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you can add one Magical Musket card from your deck to your hand, but not the same, not with the same name as what was activated. They will all have this same little line of text saying if a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column. This can be any card. It doesn't have to be your card. It can be the opponent's card if they try to activate Imperm or something. No, Imperm, bad. That was a bad one. Any set trap or any spell, they can easily you just forget about that and you can get your search. All right, and when you go to search, you'll mostly be searching for either Magical Musket cross domination, sorry, or you have the Desperado, which can pop a face-up card. You have Last Stand, which is a spell trap negate, which is really cool. Those are the ones you usually want to get. If you already have those, or if you, depending on what the situation requires, you can really get any of these other ones. And it doesn't really need, like, you can activate cards even if there's no need for it, as long as you still have that card in the column after you activate it. You can still get the search or the ability that you're trying to get. So use Desperado, you can destroy one of your own cards, don't need it anymore, and then you can get that card's effect, which will do several different things depending on what you use or what monster zone you put it in. Next, I completely skipped over this. You have Magical Musketeer Doc. This one is whenever you activate a spell trap card in its zone or in its column, sorry, you can add one Magical Musket card from your graveyard to your hand, but not a card with the same name as the one activated. This is really good. It's a recycler, and you'll be using this a lot, which is why I'm running it at 3. Usually recyclers usually run at 2, but I feel it's pretty needed since you'll be throwing all of your spells and traps to the graveyard anyways. Next you have Kid Brave. I think there's no Kid Brave. Okay. When a spell trap card is activated in its card's column, you can discard one Magical Musket card and draw 2 cards. Now that is essentially a +1, but you have to have a Magical Musket card in your deck. And as you can see, I'm running a couple of cards, about 4, I think, that aren't Magical Muskets. And I've actually had a hand where I just get Kid Brave and all of the cards that are not Magical Muskets. So that is like a legitimate brick, and there's nothing I can do about that. If I didn't get Kid Brave, I'd be able to do something else, but just because it was Kid Brave and not one of the other cards like Searchers, not very good. Next, I'm running one Ghetto. This is kind of like a tech card. You can just replace it with anything, honestly. Obviously, I don't have Maxi in here or Ash Blossom. I don't even think I have these. Let me see. I don't even have those in this on this account, so that's partially the reason why. Another reason I don't really like adding them. I know it's needed if you want to be competitive, so you can replace any of these for those. But I wanted to keep with the Fiend archetype, with the Fiend type. And this one just gives you a little extra oomph if you need it. And you gain 1,000 life points, so it's not like there's anything bad. And it's a body on the field during the battle phase. If you don't have anything else on the field. Next, I am running 3 Starfire. Again, when a spell trap card is activated in this card's column, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower Magical Musket monster from your deck in defense position. This one actually hasn't been as useful. All the Magical Musket cards, they're not very strong. I think the highest attack is 1800 without its boss monster, and that's not that good. So if you have this in the field, you really just want to put a continuous spell trap card in its column to get Casper, and then Casper can get any other card as long as a card is played or a spell trap card is played in its column. So you get Fiendish, whatever this says. Fiendish Deal is probably the best one to put in Starfire's column. Its effect is Magical Musket card monsters you control can't be destroyed by card effects. And if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can add 1 Magical Musket card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Next, you have Magical Musketeer Calamity. If a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you can target 1 Magical Musket monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense mode. This isn't too bad on paper. Again, it requires you to have a Magical Musket monster in the graveyard, and it does special summon, which isn't bad because their only link monster is a link 1, which if you use this, you're most likely going to use this to go into link 1 anyways, but then you also get that monster's effect. Granted, you haven't used it yet, but I don't like this one as much. I would prefer if it would be able to, I guess, get a Magical Musket card from your to your hand, but that's kind of already covered. This one's just not all that good. If you had to replace anything, this is probably it. Next, I'm running 3 Magical Musketeer Wild. If a spell and trap card is activated in this card's column, you can target 3 Magical Muskets in the graveyard, shuffle all 3 into the deck, and then draw 1 card. It's pretty good. As I said, you're throwing all of your spells and traps in there. You'll have 3 when you use this, most likely, and it's just a +1, and you're getting all your cards back, so that's never a bad thing. Next, you have Aurene, the Labyrinth Servant. Oh wow. You can send 1 normal trap from your hand or that's on the field of the graveyard. Special summon 1 level 4 lower Fiend monster from your deck into defense mode. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. You send a normal trap, which this deck only has 3 of. You have Desperado, you have Dancing Needles, I think that's what it is, and then you have Imperm. Everything else is either continuous or counter, unfortunately. However, this is kind of worth it, because if you can normal summon this and actually resolve its effect, you have the ability to get Casper. Casper can turn on all of your other spells and traps. So it's really not all that bad. Next, you have the boss monster of the archetype. It's kind of like the boss monster. It only has 2,500 attack, so I think anything less than 3,000 can't be considered a boss monster, but it can get to 5,000 with the spell. It doesn't really fit right with this archetype. It's really weird. So it has the same thing where you can activate spells and traps from your hand. And you can tribute summon this by tributing one Magical Musketeer that you control. However, instead of having an effect to activate when something is activated in its column, if you use spells and trap cards in your opponent's turn, you can draw that many cards from your deck. And yeah, so it feels a little janky with this whole deck, being everything else is has to activate in the column. I would much prefer if something was activated in its column, you can draw a card. That seems like it would fit better here. I don't really know why they didn't do that. It's just it really grinds my gears because it doesn't seem right. But I'm running this at 2 instead of 3 or 1 because it's pretty easy to get it out, and you can use this as fodder for something else in here, I think. And they also have a continuous spell that special summons, which honestly, if you special summon, you're not going to be special summoning Mastermind anyways. So, anyways, on to the spells and traps, which is what make this deck so good. You have Cosmic Cyclone, pay 1,000 life points, target one card, then target one spell or trap on the field, banish it, not archetypal, just a quick play, and if something can't be destroyed, like Runic, you can just banish it and that's fine. The first archetypal spell that we are going to be looking at is Steady Hands. I am only running this at 1 because I run it at 2 or 3 before, and this is an absolute brick if you don't have anything with high attack. It is an absolute brick. Basically, this is you can target one Magical Musket monster you control. Its attack and defense become double its original until the end of this turn. So it says of the original, so if you use Juraghetto, you can't double its attack afterwards. It'd be better to use Steady Hands and then Juraghetto. I think it works like that. I think you can still add 1,000 on afterwards. But yeah. And then after you do that, it can't attack directly, which is fine. You'll most likely be attacking into a monster. But this is just so bad. Like, it's an absolute brick if you don't have anything. The highest attacking monster is level 4. I mean, it's 1,700. This one's 13, 12. I think after that, it's like 16. There's not that many high attacking monsters, basically. And this only works for Magical Musket cards. So the only way it's good is if you use on Mastermind Zekil, which will obviously get up to 5,000. So that's really good. All these other ones, not so much. So I'm running it at 1 because I do not want to draw it. I want to be able to search it off of Magical Musketeer Casper. Just bad card. After this, we have Cross Dominant, which you can target one face-up monster on the field. Until the end of this turn, change its attack to 0. Also, its effects are negated. And now, it doesn't seem all that good. It's a quick play anyway, so you would be able to use it if you put it down. However, obviously, it can't get Harpy's Feather Duster if it's not there. Can't get Lightning Storm if it's not there. That's really the good thing about this whole archetype, is that those don't really work against you. But basically, this is actually is really good for OTKing as well. If you do happen to get Steady Hands and Zekil out, you can then lower an attack to 0, deal 5,000 damage, and by that point, you probably already have several other monsters onto your field at that point. So you can just attack, and just completely wipe the field. Um, the next one we have is Desperado. Again, target one face-up monster on the field and destroy it. Now, all of these do have to deal with targeting, which so it's not all that good. You really do kind of need Steady Hands and Mastermind to get over the really big monsters that can't be targeted. But that is what it is. Can't really do much about that. Next is Magical Musket Dancing Needle. When I saw this card, I was like, this isn't going to be good. Like, it's not going to be helpful. This has helped me so much. I did not think it was going to. You can target up to 3 cards in the graveyard, in either graveyard, and banish them. So that means it works against Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix. It works against it does work against Runix too, because before they can target, you can just banish them, which is really cool. It works against a lot of other things that have recurrence from in the graveyard. There's just a lot of other ones I can't think of right now. This has helped me so much, this is why I'm running it at 2 instead of just 1. It seems like a really weird, like, off card, but it works so well. And I am so happy that I actually figured that out. Otherwise, I would have lost a couple of duels I should have, honestly. Next, I'm running 2 Imperms. You can up this to 3. And I'll just get rid of one of the Desperados or whatever it is. But it's not archetypal, so I didn't really want to include that much that isn't an archetypal spell and trap. Last stand we've already talked about. You can, when your opponent activates spell trap, you can negate the activation if you can destroy that card. This is a counter trap, so unless they have another counter trap, they can't react to this. So as long as you can get this on the field, you can pretty much guarantee destroy something. Unfortunately, again, I'm going with Runic. It's just a really, really strong deck, and it matches up so well with this in terms of how it's played. But with their Huggin, you wouldn't be able to destroy it because it could just tribute itself. So that's unfortunate, and there's not really a reason to actually do that. And it says when it activates the spell or trap, so not just the effect. So it can't stop it after it's been activated already. Next, you have the Fiendish Deal. We've already talked about that. Can't be destroyed by card effects, or your monsters can't be destroyed by card effects. And if a card, or if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get a search for a Magical Musket card. That doesn't really happen too often. However, if people don't read, that can really just ruin them, which is really funny. Next, we have Magical Musket Crooked Crown. Crooked Crown, I think it's Crooked Crown. During the main phase, you can special summon 1 Magical Musket monster from your hand. Next, we're going to go and use the extra deck. Now, there isn't that much extra deck. You can add whatever you want with this. I don't have that many extra deck monsters on this account just yet, unfortunately. So, that is what it is. We're going to go ahead and start with a Shuriken. You won't really get this all that often. There's only, what, 3 level 3s in here, so that isn't all that outlandish that you would get those on the field. But since it requires 3, and these aren't primarily used to special summon, or Magical Musketeers are primarily used to special summon without their Link monster, you usually won't get 3 on the field. If you do, you're already in a winning position, so you don't really need an Omni Negate, so you don't really need a Shuriken, but it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool tech card, and I like it. I like its artwork. It looks cool, so that's why I added it. Next, I have number 39, Utopia, and that is that's only for going into Utopia Lightning. Again, it only needs 2 level 4s, and you can special summon level 4s out pretty easily. So that's the only reason I have that there. Next, Magical Musketeer Max. What it does is it only needs 1 level 8 or lower Magical Musketeer, or Magical Musket monster, which is every Magical Musket monster. And if this card is link summoned, you can activate one of these effects. Add Magical Musket spell traps with a different name from your deck or hand up to the number of monsters your opponent controls, or special summon Magical Musket monsters from your deck with different names up to the number of spells and traps your opponent controls. So if your opponent's playing a really back row heavy deck, you can special summon a lot of monsters. If they're playing a very monster summon forward deck, you can just get all the spells and traps. One thing to know is that since it is a part of their effect, if your monster gets impermed or effect veilered, you are SOL. You are screwed. You lose, because none of these have good attack, and you're going to be placing an attack mode so you can use your spells and traps. If you place an attack mode and it gets impermed, you can't use your spells and traps, so you're screwed. Obviously, if you have Last Stand, you'll be fine. If you get effect veilered, there's nothing you can do. However, if you get effect veilered and you have a Crooked Crown, maybe you can do something. But yeah, if you don't have Crooked Crown and you get effect veilered, you're done. There's not much you can do. I would actually just tentatively put this at 3 instead, so you can special summon. But honestly, no, bad idea. Actually, this can be a brick if you don't have another Magical Musket monster in your hand, which does happen a lot. And then just the random Nightmare Phoenix. I think I have Nightmare Unicorn, or not Nightmare Unicorn. I don't even have Nightmare Cerberus. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is the deck. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, there's a lot better ways to run this deck. There has to be a more consistent way, because this deck is bricked a couple times, but it's really fun when it doesn't brick. It's really fun. It's really fun when it doesn't brick. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and hope to see you on the next one. Peace.